You are listening to Words with the Mad Coach. I am Mad Coach. I am Mad Coach. I am. I am Mad Coach. I am Mad Coach. I am. You are listening to Words with the Mad Coach.
All right, Mad World, I'm here with Ace Hill, and he is going to ask the coach a question. And I'm going to let him be as open and as honest as possible, and I will be as open and... Did you want to turn it off? Yeah, we can be natural here. We can be natural. If you want to turn it off, turn it off.
Okay. So
Okay. So what is your question?
So my question is, a lot of times, especially now in the post-COVID era, everybody's posting instructionals, videos, DVDs. Do you recommend using another fighter as the model? For instance, a lot of people like the Wonder Boy style, or the TJ style, or the Crew style. Would you recommend using that as the model, or just understanding and finding yourself?
I would prefer that you find yourself, because you're simply not them. You don't have the same attributes. Your structure's not the same. The scenario's not the same. However, there may be one or two techniques that you can borrow because of a unique situation that you may be in that you share. If you have a fighter who's exceptionally fast and you have exceptional good speed, then you can borrow something of that nature, but you're not going to be able to borrow the total game. And I think that's the problem when I see the instructionals, is that they're almost inspiring you to use this as a complete system, and you don't fit their model. You don't have their body type, you don't have their background, you don't have the experience. So what ends up happening is that you end up, as Bruce Lee would say, it's like everybody is mimicking a wounded crane because they saw someone do something and they have no understanding of why. I think it was Sun Tzu in The Art of War. It says something to the effect that you may see these techniques I use, but you still won't understand them because you don't know the principles behind them. So when you're watching all these guys on the videos, and I think we talked about this years ago, why I don't like a lot of instruction, seminar instruction from guys that I don't see on a regular basis, is because the information is so random. I'd rather have a seminar by a local guy like a Trey Pace. I'd rather go to his seminar 3 or 4 times, even if I only go once. But the big deal is I have access to Trey. So if I have questions about the material, it's easy to reach out to him. If you have a guy who's on a seminar circuit and they always do seminars, and I send him an email, he's not likely to answer that because he's dealing with some 2,000 people a year or whatever. So you develop your style by constant work. So first of all, whenever I watch instructionals and things of that nature, I put them into categories. It's either a technique video, it's a training video, it's a functional experience that they're trying to get you to understand. It's philosophical in nature or whatever, but the one thing that most people get out of it is just the techniques, and they don't realize you have to break those techniques down into categories. First, you rehearse that technique over and over and over. That's just doing reps. Then you drill it, and what most people consider a drill is just doing the technique over and over again, or doing it for 3 or 4 rounds, or they create some funky little rhythm that goes back and forth. I go, you go, I go, you go. And none of those things are really like the level of drilling that you want to do. You want to take the technique itself and you break it into parts, and you want to do forward motion, side motion, reverse motion to get a feel for that particular technique, and you want to feel it in your entire body. You want to know where your balance is. You want to know where your posture is. You want to know the perfect distance. Wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Posture, position, timing, and distance. So if you take a technique and you don't break it down into those 5 stages, you're really going wrong with that technique. And then you want to move into some form of drilling. And when we talk about drilling, let's say we're talking about you go to a seminar and you learn the jab, or you watch an instructional and you learn the jab. That's just a tool. What becomes a technique is a sequence of movements that lead to a desired result. So now you want to work on proficiency and efficiency. So that means you got to give yourself some problems. So under what condition are you jabbing? What is the situation? What is the threat? What is the jab trying to do for you? And that's going to create a better jab. If you're just doing it in isolation. What you're working are mechanics, but you're not exactly working technique just yet, pure technique. You're just working mechanics. And don't get me wrong, mechanics are important because the 5 elements are based on having great mechanics. But you want to expound on those 5 elements and put them into live training scenarios. So as far as recommending instructionals, the answer is no. However, if you have a understanding of what I just said about posture, position, timing, distance, and balance, you understand the phases of training, of learning, practice, functionalization, perfection, mastery, and you have an understanding of those philosophical principles, whether you've gone through them or not, but you truly understand them, I think instructionals are good because you're going to be the type of person that takes a technique and breaks it down for the long haul. It's the macro, not the micro. And I think that's the problem when I see people cater to all these instructionals and things of that nature, that they know their audience. It's just community-based audience they're selling this stuff to. They're selling it to people who just want to have that material. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's like people who collect comic books or baseball cards. They just want to have it, but there's no real functional use for it. So there are people out there with tons and tons and tons of instructionals, but they have not mastered any of that material. So if you have a concept of understanding that, and you take that simple jab and you break it down, and you break it down into the smallest component under many circumstances, under various types of pressure, fine, instructions will work great for you. But for the majority of people, they just don't work. And think about it like this. I think it was either Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Leonard. It escapes me at the moment, but now I'm absolutely sure it's Sugar Ray. He said it took him 20 years to master the jab. And that was basically slightly in the middle of his fighting career and afterward his 4-time championships. So imagine a world champion still saying, even after I've retired, it took me this long to master the jab. If you don't have that same white belt mentality, then no, leave the instructionals alone. And that's my answer.